Good afternoon and welcome to the Windsor Star's Net News at Noon. I'm Craig Pearson with Julian and Revin, bringing you the best from the paper and the web. Though Windsor escaped without a tornado last night after Environment Canada issued a tornado warning for this area, Midland, Ontario wasn't as lucky. About 8,200 homes were without power. There was damage, people were injured after a tornado ripped through that central Ontario community.
The U.S. Supreme Court has set aside 3 mail fraud convictions against former Canadian media baron Conrad Black, who is serving a 6.5-year sentence in Florida. The court has left ultimate resolution of the case to a lower appeals court in Chicago, which means Black has not been exonerated in the case.
And disgraced former Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick is in more hot water. Yesterday he was hit with a 19-count federal indictment that accuses him of carrying out a scheme hatched some 11 years ago to use his nonprofit Kilpatrick Civic Fund for personal and campaign expenses in violation of the law. He was also accused of dodging taxes. If he's convicted, he faces up to 20 years in prison and a fine of $250,000.
Public and private partners today announced protection of 317 acres of wetland and woodland habitat in the Essex region, just west of Kingsville. Management of the property, to be led by IRCA, will include wetland restoration efforts and forest expansion.
And City Council is meeting tonight to discuss proposed water rate hikes of 30% over 5 years. We'll be live streaming that for you starting at 5 p.m. and we're also going to live chat it, courtesy of our very own Don MacArthur.
Officials have found the first Asian carp known to have made it past electric barriers designed to keep the fish from invading Lake Michigan. The find is worrisome news for those concerned with invader species changing the makeup of local water systems.
And talk about sports going all out. American John Eisner and Frenchman Nicolas Mahut are engaged in the longest match in Wimbledon history. This thing is a marathon at 10 hours plus. The thing started Tuesday, was still going on today. Still going on today, of course, is also the World Cup of Soccer after England and the United States advanced to the round of 16 yesterday. But some people are calling this the World Cup of Underdogs. Here to talk about that is our own soccer aficionado, Dave Hall. Dave, how you doing?
No, I was going to bring my vuvuzela, but I left it at home.
Oh, that's right. You're watching the games. Have you heard these horns? They're like it's a background noise the entire game.
I've kind of tuned them out.
Have you?
As much as I can, but
Yeah.
they're still there. But didn't seem to be as bad in the England game yesterday. Must be more English fans who probably drink more beer than they do blow horns.
Anyway, so isn't it the case that it seems like a lot of the big names are not getting by, or at least not getting by as easy or something?
Yeah, I mean, England hasn't played well. They did qualify for the next round yesterday, but haven't really played well in doing so. France, of course, imploded, both on and off the field. Italy's been struggling.
They're done.
They're done. I mean, Italy's been struggling. Spain lost to Switzerland. New Zealand tied Italy, so I think that generates a little bit more interest amongst the casual fan when the strong nations don't do as well. The fanatics will always follow it, but the casual fan, I think, likes to see underdogs win occasionally, and they're doing that.
Yeah, and the other thing is, too, I'm hearing that a lot of the games are closer than people thought. I mean, I know Portugal had that big blowout 7-0 against North Korea, and there's been a couple, but a lot of the games have been real tight, even against the top teams going against the...
Well, sure. I mean, even yesterday, the England game was 1-0. Australia beat Serbia 2-1. The one blowout was Portugal, and the Germans scored 4 in their first game, and then lost their second game. So, you know, I mean, I think ultimately the teams that you expect to reach the final 8 probably will. It's just that they've struggled to get there.
They've made it more fun. I mean, I'm sure Julian's been watching it nonstop.
When I'm not at work, sure.
Have you watched any of it?
Some of it, but I catch it in bits and snatches, not games in their entirety.
So, but you're not normally a soccer fan, and this...
I am.
Oh, you are normally a soccer fan? Mm-hmm. Well, there goes my theory.
What was your theory?
My theory is that people who are not normally soccer fans are watching it this time around because there's a bit more interest maybe, and because the games are closer, but you blew that all to heck.
Sorry.
Never mind. But Dave Hall, you've been watching it because
I've been watching it as much as I can, again, trying to sneak the odd minute when they're on in here, and certainly glued to the TV set over the weekends. But it's fascinating stuff. It's fascinating stuff. Even you know, the teams that are struggling are worth watching most of the time.
Last thing, anything you suggest we keep an eye out for coming up? Or?
Well, I think the US has got somewhat an easy road now. They play Ghana in their next game, having topped the group, which means they avoid Germany. And I think you could look towards them getting into the final 8, certainly, and maybe even as far as the semi-finals.
That'd be highest they've ever gotten.
I believe it would be.
Yeah. Thanks very much for coming on, Dave.
Okay,
Really
you're
appreciate
welcome.
it. Julian, you too. Thanks very much for tuning, everybody. And please tune in tomorrow for some more Net News at noon.